Hey Jay,
Yeah, mobile.
how are you doing? Happy
Not,
V-Day.
not too bad. How you doing?
I am okay. Just tired.
Yeah.
Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I am running on lots of caffeine right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Crashing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, um, question: do you have edit rights to the positioning meeting notes right now?
I might give me 1 second so I can't locate them.
Because I have lost edit permissions. I only have suggestion ability. I don't know
Yep,
why.
I'm in the document now.
Okay.
I'm in it now. You want me to see if I can share it back out to you or something?
Oh, no, no. See if you can actually edit without it being a suggestion, because I can't. It's everything is going to look like a suggestion.
Sure.
Um, yeah, it's just a suggestion for
It's a
you.
suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody messed with the position, the permissions of the document, and um, now we only have suggestion abilities. Wow, I'm really tired. My tongue is getting all sorts of
That's
tied
that's
today.
uh that's pretty weird. Let me Jesus, what is that? What is that about?
Oh, I'll have to email them um, to see what's going on because it was working last week just fine.
Who owns the document?
I'm sorry,
Who owns the document?
Linux Foundation.
Really? Oh hell.
Yeah, the same thing happened to the tooling group, like around the start of the new year. All of a sudden, our first meeting either was like end of December, early January, we couldn't edit the document. Um, and yeah, I had issues trying to get the LF on it just because I was super busy. So I just ended up creating a new document and saying, hey, start editing this one. I just copy pasted. Um, but yeah,
Well, on
So
the general access, even the Linux Foundation is just listed as a viewer, and anyone with the link is just listed as a commenter. It's on the permissions.
huh.
yes, so I'm curious, Mike. So it sounds like you just created a different doc, but did they ever get back to you on what happened?
Nope.
Okay.
I also didn't follow up outside of just like the general question of like, hey, is something going on with this doc? Um,
Got
I'm
it.
sure if I followed up, but they'd probably take another look.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna do a lot of cat herding then the next week to try to figure out what's going on because this is gonna get annoying real quick um, if it's all just a bunch of suggestions, right? Uh,
Hmm.
it's gonna get very, very messy. So, okay, well, uh, let's get started. Let's sign in. I did put um, the meeting notes again. Apologies, did not get a lot of sleep last night, so I am running on caffeine right now. I am going to share the Slack right now. Um, this was the results of the survey on changing the times for this meeting. So a real, there's not a winner, right? Um, in this survey. So I want to be able to allow folks like, for example, Joshua Law from VMware or anybody that's in the UK to be able to attend these meetings because I know it's late for them. And at the time, it was what worked best for me and Bruno. And I think somebody wanted to include Brandon Lum, but he's not attended for some time. So given that the participants have changed, um, just trying to figure out if there's a way that maybe we could do it earlier and if we would have good representation. Again, this is just a high level of what the results were, but it almost looks like either we could do Monday, but it's right before the specification call. I'm not sure people would like that very much. That's a lot of meetings in one day. So potentially spacing it out. If we think about Tuesday, it looks like not really a whole lot of people would be around 10 or 11. It's really more noon to 1. Let's see, and then Wednesday. The problem with Wednesday and Thursday is that there's a monthly meeting on Wednesday and Thursday for supply chain integrity, and for SLSA at noon to 1 Eastern. So that's the only reason why I don't think Wednesday or Thursday is not a good fit, because otherwise we'd have to play the calendar game of deleting every time the supply chain integrity or SLSA meeting happens. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, if we switch to, I mean, it could work if we made it every other week. So if we did it, like, for instance, there's integrity meetings only once a month, I believe, right?
Yes.
So if we made it, hell, if we did it every other week, we still might run up against that one maybe 2 or 3 times a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a few more times, maybe a little bit more than that, run up against that one.
Yeah.
Not as often, but
Any other thoughts? Conflicts.
Yeah, it's hard. There's just so many community meetings. Yeah, I don't have a great answer. I know for myself, actually, some stuff switched around on my end where 10 to 11 on Tuesdays are now open for me, but now 11 to noon on Tuesdays, and also Brendan Lum will also have that same conflict, 11 to noon on Tuesdays.
Is that Eastern?
Yeah, that'd be Eastern. Yeah.
10 to 11. So does noon to 1 Eastern?
That works. Yeah, that works at least for me on Tuesdays. I know Wednesdays we sometimes run into the some of the other monthly meetings.
Yeah.
It works on Thursdays, and I think it works on Fridays for me at least. Yeah, around noon is usually pretty empty, except on Mondays and Wednesdays.
yeah, noon on Fridays is always open for me.
Friday, noon on Friday. Yeah, there's less participants that are available on that time.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're in Europe, Friday evening is not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense too, right? Because all the folks in Europe, noon on a Friday is what, 5 p.m. at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's in UK. If you're mainland Europe, it's 6, so it's like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm in Europe. It's 8 p.m. right now, but I actually don't mind because I already had dinner and now I can go back to work. But on Friday, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's Friday evening and I'm like, oh, screw that. During the week, I expect that, but not on Friday.
So Tuesday, noon Eastern, would that work for you, Arno?
Problem is, everybody wants the same time slot, right? Tuesday. Yeah, actually, that I can do, I think.
Okay.
Pretty regular. Yeah. Tuesday noon works.
Okay. So
I could do that.
It looks like, so Jay, it looks like that works for you too, right?
Tuesday noon Eastern can work. There are some Tuesdays where I have a conflict, but that's only once a month. Other than that, I can do Tuesday noon Eastern.
Check with other members. Okay, so it looks like right now, at least between the few of us on the call, that seems to work. So I'll ask a couple of other folks that typically attend the meeting if Tuesday noon seems like it would work for the majority. If yes, then I'll start to reschedule it for a little bit earlier and see how that works. See what kind of attendance we get. Okay, so let me stop sharing that. Then let me share the meeting notes. Okay. I did speak with Michelle yesterday. She submitted the beginners talk to Global AppSec DC. So basically it was the same, I believe it was the same title and abstract. I provided that to her so that she could represent the salsa community in DC. So that happened, I think yesterday was the deadline. And then I wanted to review the OSSF landing page with folks. But before I do that, are there other topics that people wanted to cover? No? Is this the draft published using? I need to open this up to people. I guess I didn't do that right. Drafts also landing page.
Well, oh, sorry, I was gonna say one thing that was brought up, I think, a little bit on the specification meeting, and I don't know if the positioning group can help here at all. But was like, hey, if there's anything we could do to sort of push contributors in the community to sort of like swarm on some of these final ticket items, like, you know, whether it's like a daily Slack call to action, like just a reminder, here are some of the big, you know, here are some of the things. I think that might be useful, because I already reached out to Mark about, hey, if there's anything I need to, you know, that I could help out with reviewing or anything on there. And there's a handful of in the sort of the 1.0 blockers ticket, I think. You know, if there's things we can get folks to swarm on, just so that
yeah, that's a good idea. I believe I have the link. Where was it? So this one. Nope. Wait, is it this one? Is it 608? Blocking RC.
Oh.
No. An issue to track RC1 is 606. Is it this one?
I think so. I'm sure we can just ping Mark. Let me ping Mark and just say, hey, is it 606 is the?
Yeah, that's what I have right now.
Yeah.
I think it's 606. Where'd it go?
You're looking for
the blockers for the.
Yeah. I think there is a new one though.
Comments week.
Shouldn't be a. Didn't he make it? I think Mark made a more recent issue.
I know he shared.
No, but that's it's 606. I think is the one. That's it. It's got to be it. It was updated just recently.
Let's see. Yeah, because I know it is 606 because.
Yeah, outstanding blockers, blah blah blah. That's it.
Yeah, he also mentioned it because somebody was asking, you know, how they could help in the specification Slack channel, and he linked this 606. And outstanding blockers, 130 includes subtasks. Okay, yeah. So this is definitely it. So we can do that. What was, I forgot. I think we're trying to target end of week to get some of these closed out. Is that right? At least that's what I remember from yesterday. Like Mark was trying to push for end of week to try to get some of these things closed out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I was gonna take a look at a bunch of them end of day today.
Got it.
He did say that he would like it to be finished by the end of the week.
Yeah.
It seems quite far-fetched, to be honest, but you know, it doesn't hurt to have ambitious goals.
Yeah. Okay. So let me put, there it goes. Okay. Folks to review, let's say by end of day, no, by midday Friday or something like that. Eastern, because then that allows him to do any additional things. There's via Slack. Now, you don't want necessarily the folks that haven't been contributing to SLSA right now. That's more once the blockers are done, then our request for comment. That's when we would broaden it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Unless there's like something that's like doesn't require. Well, I think pretty much all the tickets require domain knowledge of SLSA.
Current issue. Knowledge of SLSA. Okay. So we can definitely help with that. Anything else outside of that, Mike?
No, that was it for my end, at least, as far as the big 1.0 push.
Okay. Jay, Arno, do you have any other topics that you wanted to bring up?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, so do you still keep maintaining the blog post that will plan to be posted once 1.0 is out? And
Yes.
What's the status on this?
Yeah, so we haven't begun work on this. We do have work on one, which is the developer blog. It's kind of where it was late last year. So we need to revisit it. I think our concern has been things have shifted so much while we were writing just that one that we're worried that if we start the other ones, it's going to shift even more, especially during the request for comment. So we don't necessarily want to start too early in case something fundamental does change, because it did happen with the provenance part, right, Jay, where they split it out while we were creating that blog, and we were like, oh, crud.
Right now things are still way too many changes happening just to get to 1.0.
But I understand that.
I do have a suggestion though, as far as the landing page goes. I mean, I think the landing page should probably be something that's that gets brought up to the broader working group. We have SLSA, S2C2F, and Fresca that are currently being worked on, and I think if we do an OpenSSF landing page, it should be a working group landing page that can then be tabbed out, or you can have different pages off of there of the different initiatives that we're working on, because I think if we do that, that'll open up the ability to have the larger framework that we're supposed to be developing within the working group, that larger framework that encompasses all those things. It'll provide less work for us to do later on working group wise to make that make sense. right? I mean,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I actually brought that up to Tracy. I said, hey, instead of just SLSA, why not do the supply chain integrity working group? And I think if I remember correctly, in a nutshell, it was because people are more focused on the actual community versus the working group. Something along those lines where it's all about the actual, project, not the working group. So that was the explanation given to me, but I did advocate for that. We can always go back to say, no, we really do want supply chain integrity working group on here. But there was some pushback on that when I asked about it.
wow.
Not sure what
So
people think about that.
yeah, can you go back and just sort of, so what's the background again? I maybe misunderstood.
Yeah, so Tracy Miranda reached out to say, hey, we created a SIG-Store landing page on the OpenSSF website, and we would like to create one for SLSA. And so I met with her to figure out, what do we need to do? And so she gave me the template. And when I was meeting with her, I asked, well, why just SLSA, right? Why not do, because I see, there's SIG-Store, Cosign, Recor, right? It's still under SIG-Store, but there's a bunch of different projects. So I was thinking, well, supply chain integrity, let's do SLSA, Fresca, S2C2F. But she said that it's not about the working group, it's about the actual project. And she actually pointed to, what was it? Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll show you.
Oh, but that's it. If you go to the community menu, you see the different entries there.
There we go, working groups, yeah. She says that, there's already this for supply chain integrity. But she wants something specific to the subgroups. So there would be one for S2C2F, there would be one for Fresca, there would be one for SLSA. And right now she's just focusing on SLSA. So that's the why. Now, do we agree
obviously
with that?
there's always different ways to, go at this kind of problems, and there's going to be an overlap anyway. But
that's I mean, I don't want to say that's a bit short-sighted. Let me put it like this: even if you did a supply chain, it doesn't have to be supply chain integrity. If you just did a supply chain site, right? Because I mean, that's what the culmination of this is secure supply chain. You just did a site like that, and then you did one for SLSA only right now, right? But you had the other ones, and then they said, and then if you clicked on them, it says, no, you know how old school websites used to say work in progress or currently, you know what I'm talking about, right? You could easily do that, and then now you have a template for what will end up becoming something that, if we do it correctly, you'll have the whole framework that you're able to put out there, which is the foundation which is in a nutshell the foundation for everything we're doing across the OpenSSF. I don't.
Yeah.
Well,
by the way,
in all fairness, I think there are different ways to look at it that are not necessarily, exclusive. And if you think in terms of community, you could argue, okay, SLSA is one point of view that addresses a specific audience, and the S2C2F is a different community. And if they want to, make that the axis for how you organize things, maybe it's not so bad. But I agree with you, Jay, that it's it doesn't mean it makes no sense to group them under one label.
Well, let me put it like this, right? So Blue Hat just happened. That's a conference that's held here by Microsoft in Seattle, Blue Hat conference. And they came to me and asked me about slides, and they were getting ready to talk about the OpenSSF, and they were talking about producer-focused threats and threats and consumer-focused threats, and they had a whole bunch of slides. I said, well, those slides look great, but if you're talking about the OpenSSF, you ought to put in what has to do with producer focus, consumer focus. And if you're thinking about supply chain, these are the things that we're working on. So I had them produce a slide that literally said SLSA, S2C2F, and Fresca right on it. That was the slide, the whole slide. Okay, I mean, I don't know that dare I say, we need to stop talking about these things as if they don't feed off of each other anymore. Fresca, a secure build pipeline is kind of like, if you, the way I look at that, and I'll be wrong as hell, but the way I look at that is like an encryption tunnel from one end to the other, right? You have SLSA on one end, you have S2C2 up on the other end, and then you put the encryption tunnel over it. That's called secure build pipeline. You think about it that way. But we're all working on these things, and look who's in this meeting. Mike is in this meeting. You're in this meeting. I'm in this meeting, and we're scattered across all three of these things. There's a case that could be made for us to. Anyway, I'm soapboxing again. Sorry, Arnold. I know
you're fine. You're fine. Yeah,
I'm just, I'm not against what you're saying. I think, there's some sense to what you're saying too. And I'm just trying to be conciliant and say, okay, maybe it's not completely wrong either.
I think you have a point, Jay, in that they have this 10-point mobilization plan, right? But other than just downloading the PDF or the document, that's really all that I see on the website. I'm not saying that there isn't something somewhere else, but that's what I've been able to see. And you see this part where it says improve software supply chains. We should be able to click on this and have that supply chain website that you're referring to with the working groups or the communities that are underneath it to say this is what we're doing, right? But right now it doesn't. There's no linkage in here. Maybe in the plan it shows it. I know Brian Bellendorf presented it at Open Source Summit North America last year, and I remember taking a picture of it, but I've not seen that slide since. That it showed what all the groups were and what the supply chain was that they were focusing on. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so he's been he showed it off at Cloud Native Security Con as well. So
David Wheeler has been maintaining that slide.
Yeah.
Do you know where it is?
There's an updated version. Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah, which I need to make sure that they keep forgetting to leave on Fresca. They have S2C2F and they have SLSA, but they keep forgetting Fresca. So I'll ping them on that one.
That's annoying.
Latest 10-point.
I think I can. I think I know where to find the name, the link to that slide.
Okay, thank you.
Let me look.
Yeah, because I think, Jay, like you said, you have a point, right? They're not this necessarily discrete communities. They are working together and they are working for that common mission. It just so happens that we're under the supply chain integrity working group. But even if it doesn't fall under there, we could reference other things. I don't think SPDX isn't under OpenSSF, right? It's only under Linux Foundation.
Yeah, I think that's more broadly just LF.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking, well, if that is under OpenSSF, then we could group that into securing supply chain kind of, track as well. But I'm not sure what other, I would think SigStore, because of the signing, would help with supply chain integrity. I don't know what other communities would work under there, but that is a valid point. And Tracy said that she wanted to join these meetings, but I think she was out sick or something like that. But she's been trying to attend. That's not. Could we have a supply chain security website? Pages can link off of, and I will clean up these notes. I am not good at live note taking. Can we link? Oh, where'd that website go? This one. Right, because this is everywhere. And even for the SIG store one, I mentioned to her, I'm like, hey, this would have been really good to put at the top of this page, right? Like this thing is taking up so much space up here and you don't even see it if you don't have your window open all the way, right? Like even if I like minimize it and I minimize the font, you have to scroll in some cases, but it almost looks like an afterthought versus this should be front and center. Like this is the problem it's trying to solve, right? This is why we're doing this and why we're focusing on SigStore. The same thing as Salsa or any of the other things. We should highlight that 10-point mobilization plan and how it fits into it at the beginning, not necessarily at the end. And so that kind of also feeds into that supply chain security website you were mentioning, Jay.
So you're touching on one of my pet peeves with OpenSSF, which I have openly shared with Brian several times, which is there isn't one way to describe how things are organized within OpenSSF. And so the mobilization plan was actually added after the fact. And they went through this exercise and tried to map it to the existing activities within OpenSSF. It is an afterthought. And so here, I'm even surprised they put a reference. You think it should be front and center. In many cases, not even referred to or talked about anywhere.
Got it. So this is an improvement, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would think so. But when Brian came up with the mobilization plan, I said, is that the way we're going to organize everything? And he said, no, not at all. And I said, why not? You're just adding yet another way to look at the way the activities are organized. It's a nightmare. It's so confusing already. And you're just adding yet another point of view. You're not helping.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I hear you. But then, he carried forward anyway. So that's where we are.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be good to use that because that shows the use case, right? This is what OpenSSF is trying to focus on because that's what the industry has funded / push forth as recommendations for OpenSSF. That is the purpose. So focus on that and communicate that as much as you can and how everything integrates, right? Anywho, anything else on this landing page thing in terms of what we've been talking about, not necessarily the content of the landing page?
Yeah, no, I think you hit a lot of the good stuff. I know it's still a big thing that also a lot of end users have been asking is like, yeah, how does Salsa fit into this mobilization plan? How does Salsa fit into this new Sterling tool chain that folks have been talking about? How does this fit into, Alpha Omega is one of the big projects. Like, does it fit in? Yada. And a lot of that sort of stuff is not there. And once again, I don't think it's on us to necessarily do all that work. But I do think bubbling that back up to be like, to some of the folks like Brian to be like, hey, a lot of us are very confused and even I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I also just found out that one of the working groups plans to have a supply chain taxonomy, but they haven't yet contacted the supply chain integrity working group. They're like, oh no, we plan to give a presentation on it, but a lot of folks are like, oh boy.
Which group is that?
I think it's the end user group.
It's the end users working group.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not necessarily that like there's anybody at fault outside of, it would be great if there was a general like, hey, if there's something missing like a taxonomy thing, then it should be a partnership between the folks who are focused on that plus this, the end user group or whatever, right? Yeah, I think that sort of stuff.
That's something I've been trying to get. I've been saying that since the summertime. What I mean? There's certain things that we ought to not be doing, like in a silo, and that's one of them. Especially since we have the best practices working group that has a whole damn, terms and definitions thing that they're working on. And you've all heard me saying many, and not just in that meeting, but also many a SLSA meeting. Hey guys, have we reached out to the terms and definitions team to see what their terms and definitions are? Maybe we can take some of these terms and bring them over there. Maybe we could take some of those terms and bring them over here. But one thing we need to do is be speaking with one voice. We should be across the entire OpenSSF. We should not be saying one thing here and then another thing over there and they mean the same thing. That should not happen across the whole OpenSSF.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, and for example, I only found out about that thing in a CNCF meeting where somebody had brought it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's interesting that you're bringing this up in the CNCF to say, hey, we should cross-pollinate." Are you familiar that a lot of folks in the OpenSSF are not familiar?
So, is the end users working group, is that within OpenSSF or is it a CNCF?
No, it's OpenSSF.
Okay. Yeah, it's OpenSSF.
It's the letters working group that was just added.
Okay. And this document, Arno,
yeah, I'm trying to put the title or something. If you click on it, it will get you to the slide that I think you guys were referring to, which shows the...
Trying to click on it, but it won't let me. So I have to copy paste. Yes, it's that slide. That exact slide is what I was looking for. Yep.
So that's actually a link to a deck that I don't know, the OpenSSF team, I don't know if it's David or this one was particularly from David, but I suppose there are different variations of it. But David makes a point of trying to keep it up to date.
Okay. Yeah, it's
you can see it as end users working group right there, actually. But does it have Fresca? Mike?
Or S2C2F, it needs to be updated.
Oh, so this was a different one. So yeah, that's one thing that needs to be added in here.
If you go up one slide, there's but of course there may be a different versions of that.
Yeah, so there was a slide here that had S2C2F on it. I saw that one at the CNSCon keynote that Brian gave, but I did not see Fresca on there. And yeah.
There are a few initiatives across the OpenSSF that have started that are not on here that are currently being worked on in other working groups as well. There's a lot of stuff that's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how old this one is now, but
created April 13, 2021.
Really?
That's what it says, created. I'm not able to see when it was last.
The end users working group was recently added, obviously, because when was it created? Just at the end of last year?
Yeah.
In the fall, maybe.
September or October, something like that.
Okay, so let me...
We can ask David for the letters version if there is one somewhere else. Or Brian, maybe as it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's somebody in the staff who is like the official owner of the slide that you would want to get to update the, the source of truth, so that everybody else get the updates, because otherwise, it's the kind of game that never ends where Mike, you say, hey, David, fix, it's missing Fresca. They add it there, and then the next guy doesn't. And then it gets, it propagates. You don't know from where. So
Fresca and S2C2F. And if you know of others that need to be added to the mobilization plan, feel free to point them out. But yeah, if we can get the actual main copy of whatever, it seems like it might be this one, but because I don't see any revision history, I don't know if it truly is or if it's like a static document that is getting published every so often. And it's not truly the live one. Okay. So yeah, this is exactly, go ahead.
They may have others internally, and I don't know. This, I can tell you, I got that link from the Diagram Society working group, where
The
a lot of these
diagram,
documents,
the diagram
society
society work.
working group.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we meet Thursdays at 12 every 2 weeks.
Yes. So
Yeah.
some of us are trying to figure out how to represent what's going on in OpenSSF.
Got it.
And there is a working
We're a
group
fun
called the
bunch.
Diagrams Society working
Got
group.
it. Got it.
And the problem is we have too many proposals, and the question is, how do you narrow it down to a few that we can actually get really up to date and, you know.
Got it.
But so
Okay.
in that context, David shared his slides there that I was sharing with you.
Got
And
it.
that's just one point of view.
Yeah.
I don't claim that this is, necessarily the answer, but.
So I think in terms of the taxonomy, we could definitely, I'm pretty sure the monthly meeting is tomorrow for Supply Chain Integrity Working Group. We could potentially bring it up tomorrow to say, hey, does anybody know about what the end users working group is doing? And is anybody partnering with them? If not, and someone raise their hand to go partner with them, right? Because it would be good to know if they're working in a silo or not, especially if they're not working with the best practices working group. I don't know if anyone can answer that even.
Oh no, it's definitely siloed work that I'm actively trying to get some tentacles out and say, hey, let's all bring this in, let's all come together around this. It's definitely siloed work. I mean, the proposal is being pitched to the TAC for this work from the end users working group, and then we're saying, well, maybe this should be like a consortium. Maybe we should come together and pitch together. This shouldn't be pitched by pitched by one working group.
One group. Yep. Agreed.
You more so, but it is happening like that, and of course, I've been voicing that.
Yes.
Rather well.
Yeah, that I know. Now, in terms of other content, because I heard, hey, we should probably see or show, how SLSA is connected to all these different things. And I think that's a great idea, not only from the mobilization plan, but to some of the other projects. So if I go back to, where did it go? To this, or if I even go back to the actual SIG-Store page, I was envisioning that this would be the launch, the 1.0 launch announcement, right? I think there's going to be, is it Jennifer Bly is working with maybe Isaac on the launch stuff, or at least that's what Isaac said. I'm not sure if Mark or Joshua is involved in any way, but I suspect that there's going to be some sort of video. And then we could have our, blogs. Should we have SLSA case studies, right? For maybe version 1, and then maybe people that are potentially going to attempt 1.0 when it's in RFC. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but there's a lot of options here, and so I'm curious about your thoughts on what should be contained on this page, so we can kind of start putting that vision and message together.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you just said. I mean, that video, a 1.0 launch, use cases, definitely use cases. Maybe a thing with adopters.
With the what?
Adopters, organizations who have adopted.
I'm
not sure if we could even put that down there like that. I don't even know if we can actually do that, because it's I mean, we're working towards a spec, but if organizations are willing to say, hey, yeah, we're adopting, or we're currently using it in our organization, that could be put down as well. definitely partner organizations, organizations that are working to make it better, right? So maybe both. I don't know. What's I guess we have to check with legal on some of that, right? Who's willing to be put down on a site, who's not a public site, who's willing to be have their name shouted out.
Yeah. Well, that's with each individual person and their company, right?
Well, each individual company. I mean, we're all volunteers here, right? So
yes.
So having our names on it, right? I mean, that's just, we are representative of our respective organizations, but at the end of the day, we're all volunteers here. When it comes to being on this or having companies who are adopting it on the site, that might be a different case where does a company want to say, hey, yeah, we're openly adopting this? Do they want that to be known? Now, those are legal things right there. But as far as volunteers are concerned, we can just put our names down, not necessarily put down the organization that we're coming from. Now, what's the advantage or disadvantage to that? Advantage, you can do that and you're doing it as a volunteer. Disadvantage for the organization that you're representing, especially if your organization's a member organization of the OpenSSF, is your organization will probably say, hey, I want our name on that because we're actively working towards producing something that's going to be used globally. Then another organization may say, well, we don't put money up, therefore we don't want our name on it, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and then you have to decide as an individual how you want to go there. I'm only putting out these little I'm spitballing these little things out here, and that's only because when it comes to the site itself, the point of that is, if this is going to be an actual spec one day, I know that this is a project currently under currently under the dare I say the LF that's being worked towards becoming a spec. There are certain criteria for that to occur, and one of them is being able to provide a knowledge of who are the adopters of this.
Yeah. Because
that takes it from being a great idea to being an actual spec, and it's not a spec unless people are adopting it, right? So so if you could put that up on a site and have that actually, a location where that information is present, that makes it less for the body of people that have to look at it and approve and make it a spec. That takes less work for them to do so.
What about there's been presentations previously given by companies claiming to be SLSA compliant, right? So potentially we could add like not necessarily a link to each of them, but maybe there's some sort of folder or repository to say, hey, these are, my access has expired. What?
Yeah, I saw that early on. I had to reload.
Reload without your unsaved changes. You better save.
Yeah, what the hell?
I'm gonna be very mad if all these notes went away.
All that work. Well, hell, you want wait, real quick, copy it. Copy all that work. Before you real quick, copy all of it. just in case.
That's not a bad idea.
Just do a quick copy, and that way, if it's gone, you can just.
No, but wait, we can confirm. Is it still? Oh.
Yeah, and about the everyone claiming to be SLSA compliant, I think we should take that with a grain of salt right now, because
I know. Go ahead.
So if I may interject on that one, because this is a topic of discussion within the SLSA spec SIG, and so there's a plan to develop a certification program to try to clean up that mess there. But in the meantime, what the spec or the SLSA dev website is going to have is a list of claims without any kind of endorsement from the OpenSSF or the SLSA spec group, saying these are, you know, things that people claim are compliant at whatever level they want to claim, right? And so there's going to be some kind of list like this.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if we can have conformance program link description too on that page to say, hey, if you believe.
Yeah, the problem is there isn't one yet.
Right.
No, there isn't. But when there is, we can add that.
Yes, I think that would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely, yeah, no, I think that, I mean, people are going to invest money in being compliant, conformant with SLSA. And if they are a member, especially of OpenSSF, they should be able to, there should be a member benefit to be able to advertise that they are conformant.
Yeah, and I think even if it's not ready, we can still put that it's a work in progress.
Yeah, we could have a stub.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wait for more news or something, or see this GitHub repo if you want to participate. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely like that though. Something that you put up a link to a centralized situation where we're actively vetting, because anyone who says they're SLSA compliant right now, that's a no bueno situation. You can't.
No kidding. It's not even defined yet, but people are already claiming conformance. I'm like, well, that's pretty bold.
That's how about that?
Yeah.
How do you pull that one off? I want you to explain that to me.
So that's another point that I think I'm looking at the SLSA. I brought it up a while ago. It was about that SLSA level 3. There it goes. GitHub generator.
Yes. That's one of the tools being developed. What's your question? What's your one?
We're not done with the spec. How can it be level 3?
Because they claim it's level 3 at the time they implemented it, but they know they're going to have to update it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think the blessing there is that there's an argument on this. This is truly a blessing. There's an argument on why there's no level 2, because if you do this one thing, it should take you from 1 to 3, and of course now you got to shrug the shoulders and say, well, I don't. In the land of just creating, in the land of creation of specs, I mean, I imagine you can do whatever the hell you want, but I think if you make an argument, if you do this one thing, it can take you from 1 to 3. Woo-wee! I don't know. You got to double back a little bit. Let's do.
I agree with you, Jay. I think that's a very accurate point, and I do find that odd. And if you look at the Get Started page they have on the SLSA Dev website, it basically says, don't bother with 1 and 2, just go to 3. It's easy. Just do this. And you're like, then why do we spec this out?
Exactly. Yeah, that's not a.
Well, SLSA 1, you basically do nothing. You SLSA 1. And then, don't bother with 2 because you do this and you have 3. It's like, oh, okay. It seems like the 2 is artificially defined. It doesn't address a specific use case.
SLSA,
but
is it generator?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
I'm wondering
called,
about SLSA tooling.
SLSA GitHub generator.
Well,
now, I haven't had a chance to attend the tooling meetings as much as I've attended all the others. And the last time I attended a tooling meeting, the focus was only on SBOMs. The focus wasn't on. That was the last tooling meeting I attended. It was just SBOMs.
Because this is something we brought up. There's a serious overlap.
Okay, I'm not. I want to jump back in on that because I believe I soapboxed on that one too, where I talked about why is there even a conversation about SBOMs versus SLSA provenance? Why is that even why is that a conversation? Why is that a topic?
We had that conversation last week.
Yes. You're opening a can of worms there that we have already jumped in.
Yeah, I'll share the mural with you.
I put
Jay.
the link there, Melba, in the chat to the SLSA GitHub generator. That's the thing you're talking about.
So what I'm seeing here is there's in the Slack. What time is it? Okay, I have to be mindful of the time. I have a volunteer event. Another reason why it would be nice to move up this meeting. I don't have to feel rushed going to an event right after this. Where is it? This is the Slack. And if I copy this picture, let me see if it'll let me copy image. Right, so it'll say, compile your Go project using a SLSA 3 compliant builder. But the other one is talking about generating provenance for your, right? So they're two different tools, both claiming to be SLSA level 3 compliant. But again, SLSA level 3 wasn't even well defined in version 1. So how can, and it's not finalized in 1. So how can you claim SLSA 3?
Again,
even
I
if
mean, they should have at least a little asterisk saying, you know, at the time of writing or something. But they are not very good at putting disclaimers, highlighting the flaws in the claims being made.
That's
I mean, Jay, you're going to love that one. I mean, if you go to the SLSA dev, you know, website, get started, there's a pull request right now that I've objected to, which, you know, tries to revise that document, saying basically, if you use GitHub, do this. If you use Google Cloud, do that. And if you use Fresca, do this. And if you use something else, well, don't. Just use one of those.
Oh,
I am serious.
Oh, is it this one? The examples?
Oh.
No, there's a get started at the top. Come, scroll back, get started. Okay, so right now it doesn't say much. There's a pull, but you can scroll down a little bit. It's all on the same page. But see, already talks about Google Cloud. And so there's a pull request to update this, which makes it even worse. Wow. And so I have highlighted.
Pull request?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was like, come on, guys. I have to say, Abhishek from Google agreed with me, saying, yeah, guys, we can't do this. This is not right. You cannot promote, you know, proprietary solution.
If I say something, it'll only sound like I'm soapboxing again. There's certain things that you gotta, well, I mean, you gotta understand, like I've been working on policies and procedures. It's been over a decade I've been doing this stuff. And there really is you gotta follow the bouncing ball with this, because otherwise adoption becomes extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. And adoption with any seriousness becomes difficult. I mean, if you do this incorrectly, you're gonna end up with a paperweight, because people are not gonna trust you anymore. You know what I mean? You have to be very, very careful about how much you try. There's a certain point where you try to get adopters to a spec, and at that point, you should only be refining. You should only be smoothing out edges at that point. You shouldn't be tossing back and forth. What's 1? What's 2? What's 3? What's 2? What's 1? What's this? What's that? What's the other? Go over there, do this, because this is 3. Well, didn't you just say that that's not 3 yet? Because 3, well, we haven't hit version 1. If you keep doing that too much, you're going to lose people.
Yes.
You're going to lose people. They're not going to trust you.
Yep. And yeah, and that was the point I made. I don't know. I don't think it was this week. It was probably a couple weeks ago where I said, are we solid with level 1? Yes. Okay. Are we solid with 2? Yes. Okay. Are we solid with 3? No. Don't put it in the 1.0 draft, because if you keep changing things from from people, like the foundational things, you're making people do rework, and then you lose that trust. People aren't going to want to implement it, and you have to make it easy to implement, which is why I kept bringing up that.
So I don't want to speak, I don't want to speak on behalf of Google. I'm not a Google employee. I don't know exactly, but it seems to me that they are pressing to get SLSA 1 out so they can claim that Google Cloud is SLSA 3 compliant. So the idea of removing level 3 probably doesn't fit their agenda. But, this is speculation from my part, to be honest.
I guess that's even better reason to go to that pull request. Where is it? 606? Not pull request, that GitHub issue 606. For everyone to chime in.
Yes.
Yeah. To make sure that everybody's on the same page. Where is it? Where is it?
I am an old standards guy, and standards take a long time to do, and you can't just rush them. It's hard. Yeah. It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
When I heard Mark, back before Thanksgiving, he said he wanted to be done by Thanksgiving, and I was like, it's just completely unrealistic. And now he says, okay, we need to be done by the end of the month. But I understand the wish to get something out, but I don't, when I see the list of issues, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah. Okay. I have to run. Great discussion.
Good talking to you guys.
Yeah. I do think we have a good amount of things that we could put on the website outside of the whole mobilization plan. So I'll figure out how to change the permissions on that Google Doc. I don't know how it got to the state where no one can do anything, not even myself. So I'll figure that out and resend out the link so people can start adding comments or content. Okay. Okay.
And Jay, there's an S2C2FC meeting now?
It's right now. I'm getting ready to go over there right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Enjoy. I can never join.
Yeah, for once I think I'm gonna join. So
yeah.
I'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.